Hello, everyone. This is Dee Jae Durante, VPPR for Toastmasters with District 84, Synergy, the podcast. We serve Central and Northern Florida. We build new clubs, and we love to support all clubs in achieving excellence. We pride in our values of respect, integrity, service, and excellence. Today, we're having a special episode as I'm doing a series with Toastmasters from all over our nation. Today, we have Gillian Whitney with ACB Summerlin Toasters, and we're going to be here a little bit about her experience, her club. We're going to go ahead and have Miss Gillian, our fellow Toastmaster, introduce herself.
Hi there. I'm excited to be invited to talk on this show. I'm a huge fan of Toastmasters, been in Toastmasters for over 8 years, several different districts. And right now I'm in Las Vegas, baby. So I'm in Las Vegas with Summerlin Toasters, and my district is District 115, Division B. And the district is so big that they had to actually break it down into 4 different A, B, C, and D. So that's kind of unusual, which maybe makes us feel that Toastmasters is growing. So it's a good thing.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to hear all about your club and your district and your area and a little bit more as we get on with this podcast. You were introduced to Toastmasters, and I would really like to know how long you've been a member and tell us a little bit about that story and how you became a Toastmaster.
Okay, I actually first heard about Toastmasters and joined Toastmasters when I was just like out of college, just gotten married, and I was starting to do a job, and I was a computer trainer. And I knew I wanted to hone those public speaking skills. Somebody told me about Toastmasters. I checked it out and I joined. And I joined for probably about a year. And then I kind of, had kids, took some time off to have kids. And once those kids were raised, I was, how about that Toastmasters thing? Maybe I should go back to there because I wanted to start doing public speaking again. And I thought I spoke really well until I went to a Toastmasters meeting and I went, oh, we got a little rusty. It was funny. It was like the first speech I gave. I think I got some feedback of somebody told me I had T-Rex arms. And I was like, what does that mean? And it makes you realize that it's through Toastmasters that you gain what you need to work on, what you're doing well, what you can improve. And once I attended that meeting, I decided, okay, I'm in it. I'm in it for good. So 8 years later, I have been in Utah, and now I'm in Las Vegas. I actually moved to Israel for a year and a half, and I couldn't find a good Toastmasters group, but it was the pandemic, so not a good time to join a group in a foreign country. But that's actually kind of a cool thing about Toastmasters. Wherever you go, there's probably a club. And if not, go to Zoom.
Yes.
So really cool.
Yes. International, right? Toastmasters International. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love that story, how, and that happens in our lives. We leave an organization, but then we remember all the value it brought to our lives, and then we want to return. We realize it was really beneficial and it was working. Fantastic. As I mentioned at the beginning, I shared about our values, and I wanted to ask you about those values and how they've really made an impact on you.
That like the Toastmaster Rise values, or just Toastmaster in general, or both?
The Toastmaster, the values, the respect, the integrity, the excellence.
Okay. So when I kind of look at those initials, so the first thing is respect. And of course, the one thing that I always feel is really important in Toastmasters is to respect your audience. That whenever we're crafting our speech, that we should really think about, okay, tell a great story is one thing, but is there a point? Is there a takeaway? Because at the end of the day, we're all really listening to somebody kind of going, what's in it for me? I always like to say we're tuned to that radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And it's so true. So when we can kind of respect our audience and not waste their time, really prepare a good speech, I think that's where the respect comes in. And even if you have an audience of one, always respect that audience. So that's the respect. In terms of integrity, don't be a flake. That is, I think, the biggest thing that I see in Toastmasters is people sign up for roles and then they don't show up and they don't let anybody know. And then you've got the poor Toastmaster at the last minute scrambling and, asking, can you do 3 roles? Can you do 2 roles? Because people flaked. And so the thing is that if you can't make a meeting, let everybody know, show up. It really does take a village to run a Toastmasters meeting and a club. So I think that's important. The next thing
Yeah.
is service. And this kind of hit me in the beginning. When I first started going to Toastmasters, I just wanted to learn how to speak. I didn't really care about the whole leadership part. So I remember going
Yeah.
to a Toastmasters meeting and somebody said, "Hey, you've been here for a couple months now, and we'd love to see if you'd get involved in the club." And my brain went, "No," but my head said, "Yes. Yes." Because I had been listening to this tape of this woman, and she was talking about whenever opportunities are extended to you, say yes, but say yes, yes. Once to say you'll do it, and then again to say, I'm all in and I really will do it. And I went on to become membership, PR. I PR twice. I went to the bathroom once and I got voted to be the president. Like you're all, that's what happens. That's what happens.
I
But
love
we
it.
have to realize that it is about speaking and leadership. And all those skills are a part of Toastmasters. And we actually, even if you want to say no, say yes, because the skills you'll get and the growth is amazing. So that is the service. And
Ooh,
then, of course, the last thing would be the excellence. And what I would say is, whatever you agree to do, whether it's a leadership position at your club or even just serving a role at the club, always show up and be the best you can be. So if you're going to be the Toastmaster, figure out what the theme is, jot down some notes, have an idea of, okay, if people don't show up, who can I call on? If you're the table topics person, show up with really good questions and make sure you're including people that are sitting there not doing anything, or your guests, because if the guests have a great experience from the get-go, they'll be back. So include them in the table topics. So I always say, if you're going to do something in Toastmasters, be like a Vegas person, be all in, go bet big, and really do a good job. That's my thought.
wow.
Guys.
That yeah, that is so in depth with respect, and I love the yes, yes. Like, do it
Oh,
and do it with everything you've got. Use your heart, use your soul. We're there. Just really lean into that. And I love what you said about leadership because for me, it was the same thing. It was about communication and learning to speak, right? Like, oh, public speaking. And then you start to really get into it and realize so much the in depth roles and what you said about committing and when showing up, just like anything else in our lives, really, if you're going to say yes, yes, commit to it and really put your excellence into it. So
great.
I love that. I love that. Those values really resonate with me as a military member and I use as well in the military. For me, I have that kind of similarity that I put between Toastmasters and the wonderful way that everything is organized
It
and
is.
they teach you and they're there for you to guide you and help you build those leadership skills. So I find a lot of similarities and I really find comfort in this organization. I wanted to ask you, Miss Vegas, since you really are so proud of your area, and this is exciting for me. I want to know some of the specialty clubs or some of those cool clubs and member groups that are in your area, in your
So
district.
I don't know. I've actually kind of like lost touch with all the specialty clubs. I
Oh,
knew a lot more about the Vegas scene for
yeah,
Toastmasters before I went to Israel, and I'm kind of only here temporarily. So I just
yeah.
rejoined the club I was in before, but I believe that there's like storytelling clubs, and I think there might even be
Oh,
some specialty clubs. I know there's like university clubs, there's some of the businesses have clubs. So I think there's a lot, but it's not apparent on the district website. I hate it. I'm sorry. I'm not dissing my
oh,
district, but it's
no,
like if you go
no.
to some of the district websites, they really highlight, oh, this one has like I was looking earlier and it was like in Texas, there was some district in Texas and they said this is an impromptu club and they specified these were good if you wanted to have a second club. And I thought, wow, that's really good. So maybe
Mm.
that's a suggestion I'll give to the district in that I wasn't actually seeing what are our specialty clubs, because I tried to Google it and do some
How
research and I
about
couldn't find them.
that?
But I
Listen.
remember a storytelling club, and I think that there's a real diversity here in terms of, like, people accommodating on Zoom
Mhm.
and then in-person clubs and hybrid clubs. This is a whole new world because prior to the pandemic, Toastmasters was not an online experience. You always went into a club, and I know a lot of people that they have Zoom fatigue and that sort of thing. So in our club, we're working hard to really make these hybrid meetings. And gosh, it's a lot of work setting up a laptop and a webcam and speakers and making sure there's Wi-Fi everywhere. That is not easy. But on the same token, I think we're in this hybrid world, DJ, where we have to realize that everywhere we go for business, we might have to speak in hybrid world. So you've got to learn, how do I deal with the audience here, and not ignore anybody? So to me, we've just stepped up our speaking and communication skills with this pandemic.
Wow. Wow. Powerful. I agree. I agree. They might need to add a new role. Zoom master, right? The
I think
virtual Zoom
so.
master to
I
the to another suggestion, Toastmasters International, or but I think it's to start implementing what that role would look like to help our virtual and our hybrid clubs to
I agree.
streamline and to have a clear guidance, right? It's something to explore. I love that. But at the same time, yes, we're all learning. We're all in that same boat. And I'll be honest, I was not a Toastmaster before pandemic. This actually came through, and I was for a corporate club, which it was recommended to me. And that's a little about my story and how I found out about Toastmasters through my employer, which was offered like, hey, are you familiar with Toastmasters? And I remember
Mhm.
that was a suggestion through my supervisor who said, hey, have you ever thought about Toastmasters? I know you struggle and you get nervous and you start fumbling and don't know. And one time I had a bracelet that was just shaking and you could hear it in the
Oh,
microphone. It was terrible. So I knew I said, "Yes, yes," just like you said. Yes, of course. Let me learn whatever skills you're offering. And really, that has been one of the best decisions I could have made for myself and empowering myself as part of our mission statement.
yes, and it's such a
So,
safe space. It's such a safe space.
yes.
I always tell people, if you're nervous about public speaking, that's what's so nice about Toastmasters is, first of all, where could you actually go to any place where people are going to just clap their heads off? Like, we're just the clappiest people around. I just think like we're like Tinkerbells or something. Everybody's always clapping and cheering, and there's so much positivity. And in essence, people really want to give you feedback to just help you get better. And it's
Mhm.
nice when you learn, oh, okay, I didn't realize that I had this habit of like stepping forward and then I step back. And I didn't know I had this nervous habit, because sometimes we don't know these things, and especially if we're
Yeah.
comfortable being on recordings, know these things. So it's just a positive environment. And I always tell people, please take advantage of mentors. Like, you've got this free
Ooh.
help. Most clubs, most districts are always promoting the fact that you can have a mentor. They'll help you. They'll do as much or as little as you want. Ask them to look for certain extra things you're working on. So, you just, it's amazing the value you get from a Toastmasters membership. I have traveled and I've gone to so many different places, and I love to just go to Toastmasters meetings, because Toastmasters peoples they're very inclusive. They're really good about you just calling up and saying, "Hi, I'm in Vancouver. I'm visiting. Can I come to your club?" And
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh my gosh, sure." But the
Right.
warning is, when they find you're a Toastmaster, they'll probably put you to work. So the next thing you know, you're an evaluator or you're a timer. It's a good thing, because then you instantly get to see people in a city or a town, wherever you go, and you see real people, and it's just a great experience. So always take advantage of traveling and going and visiting clubs. It's great.
From meeting you online and us being virtual colleagues, acquaintances, and figuring out that we were both Toastmasters and our passion for Toastmasters, which really brought us together. Just being able to exchange information and say, hey, let me go to your club. And like you said, we are so friendly, we are so inclusive. And it's really nice to see how something negative, such as a pandemic, has really expanded the boundaries
Mm.
between clubs and more Toastmasters going to different clubs in different regions, learning about how different clubs manage and run and interact with their communities. I wanted to ask about some of those challenges and barriers that you've noticed in your club and how they've overcome them.
Okay, I think that probably the biggest thing is we lost a lot of members during the pandemic because people just did not want to move to Zoom. Maybe they were zoomed out with their jobs, and I guess that could be, you're busy at doing Zooms all day. The last thing you want to do is go to a 7 o'clock meeting and be on Zoom. So I think that was hard for people was all the Zoom stuff, but we
Mhm.
have really worked hard to do the hybrid. And as we're doing the hybrid, we're sort of energizing the club again and bringing back people. I think it's really just been struggling with membership and then just struggling with trying to get those numbers back up again and people showing up and staying when they said they'll come and not having to run around doing the last minute rolls. Cause I think it's really hard if you have a core group of people that do all the work and everybody else just kind of floats in and floats out. I think that's really hard for a club. I think we're doing really well with that. The amount of volunteers of what it takes for people to set up these hybrid meetings, they put in a lot of work. And I think that is something that our club is working really hard at doing is making sure this is a good experience and making our guests feel welcome, making our guests feel welcome and always participating. I know I've sent a lot of people to other Toastmasters clubs and they've said they've been ignored, like nobody
Oh,
wanted
no.
their feedback. They weren't asked to join. And that's a funny thing. I know being the membership chair at one time is you have to ask people to join. They want to know that you want them. We're all walking around with imposter syndrome going, they would never want me. They're all so good and this and that. It's like you need to tell people, we'd love you to join and go check out some other clubs and come back because we want you in this one. I think
So
ask.
important. Find the club that with you, right? Not the first
Yes.
club you go to, but maybe the second or third. Maybe there's a friend.
Yes.
Google searching, LinkedIn searching for Toastmasters. See who pops up in your connection circle.
Absolutely.
Reach
It's great.
out.
It's great. It's great.
It is great. Right. It's just things that we're learning as we continue with this pandemic and how Toastmasters continues to evolve. It's ever changing, ever growing. We touched on membership, which is important and so valid. I've heard it time and time again about how membership across the board is struggling. I know we've had quite a number of members have had personal things come up that has affected their ability to participate and be part of our weekly meetings. They're still
Mm.
members and we want to give them that support. And there's that core group that really stays there steadfast, doing the roles, making sure the meetings continue until we can really strengthen again in support and in numbers and increase our membership. And haven't even brought this up. You want to talk about contest season?
Oh, wow. Okay. Contest seasons, the
Oh,
number they're just like the number one thing, and it's interesting, I know from my own perspective, I hated doing table topics, and I've always said, "Whatever you hate, figure out how to get beyond it," because it means that it's your challenge, and stop doing the easy things, do the hard things, and I always found table topics, it's like, I'd be kinda like, "I think I'll go to the bathroom at this part of the meeting." I just avoided it, and we had a table topics contest, impromptu speaking contest, and I went for it because I hated table topics and I thought this might help me get over it. Well, I won for my club, my area, my district, all the way up. I won as far as you can go. And those skills have stayed with me. That was probably about 5 years ago. And I came home with this honking big trophy. It was just like, oh my gosh. But on the same token, like here today, I can be a podcast guest. I can run my own live stream show
mhm.
because of these impromptu skills. So, whatever is kind of your Achilles heel in communication, use Toastmasters to get better at it. So, highly recommend going for contests. Also, you never know where these contests can go, and I know, like, the world competition of public speaking, every Toastmaster has a dream of one day winning that contest, and I know that this year it was won by a lady in, South Africa, Verity Price, and I
Mhm.
remember seeing her award-winning speech. It was absolutely fabulous. I used LinkedIn to reach out to her and just I wanted to mention her in a post because her speech was fabulous. And I wanted to mention her in a post and I couldn't because we weren't connected. So I went to follow her and I went, what the heck? Why don't I just go ahead and send her an invitation to connect? She connected. It makes you realize that having this Toastmasters as a way to connect with others is a great thing. It kinda makes
Absolutely.
the playing field level with who you can get to know, and Toastmasters was the bridge. So, now I know the world championship of public speaking, Verity Price. It's like, "Oh my gosh." So then it makes
Mhm.
you realize anybody could win these contests, anybody. So, go for it. Go for the dreams. It's
Yes,
exciting.
yes.
Yes, yes.
This is so fantastic. I could ask you so many more questions, but I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna give you my last question.
Right.
Ultimately, how has Toastmasters changed you?
I would just have to say that it's helped me be a better communicator. It's helped me realize what makes a good speech, what doesn't make a good speech. I use it in every part of my job, whether I'm doing Zoom meetings, making videos, doing video coaching, continuing to do stuff. It's just helped me with so many communication and leadership roles. It's just amazing the amount of positive people Toastmasters has brought into my life is incredible. If you want to extend your network to have more positive people that will be clapping and cheering for you, Toastmasters is it.
Absolutely. High quality people. I
Mm.
have not met one Toastmaster that wasn't all those values, respectful and full of integrity and selfless and just practicing excellence in
Yeah.
everything that they craft and that they do. So it's truly been an honor, Jillian. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank
your
you.
time and being a wonderful guest, sharing your insight and your experiences with your Toastmaster, your club, and your district in Las
Awesome.
Vegas.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you.